Hey, everyone. Welcome to Sister Wives with Mary Jane Kay. Today we are going to break all the way down Sister Wives, Season 16, Episode 11, the first part of the tell-all. Now, this year, things are a little bit different, and this was just an introductory episode, but I know there were a lot of juicy tidbits, and I know next week I am here for it. I cannot wait to watch that episode. Cody already slightly came a little bit unhinged this time at the host. I wonder what he'll do next episode. Anyways, let's get into the episode. Each of the wives and Cody will be interviewed separately. First up is Janelle, and she says the family has different opinions on the C-19 risk. And they flash back to one of the first episodes. I believe it was one of the first episodes of this season. They all go to dinner, and it's been months since they moved to Flagstaff, months since they got together, and it's the four wives and Cody. And that was kind of a monumental episode because we really saw the rift in the family appear, and it's a scene in which, you know, the famous pink elephant where Robin says she's the pink elephant in the room and Christine says she feels hated. They're at that Italian restaurant. I'm sure we can all go back and remember that episode. It's a couple months into their move to Flagstaff, and it's the first time they all get together, the wives and Cody. Anyways, so they flash back to that scene and to the conversation where Janelle asks the wives about the family dynamic since they've moved to Flagstaff. And Janelle feels the family has lost something with the four separate homes. Before the pandemic, they felt isolated because the kids are already grown. Everyone kind of got used to doing their own thing, having their own separate life, and no one made any effort. And that really caused the family dynamic to suffer. It caused the relationships to suffer. Everyone, just taking their own path. And everyone made no effort, and they're more comfortable like that. And Janelle says that the danger zones within polygamy are every wife really being conscientious about the state of the relationships, keeping up with the relationships, maintaining the family dynamic. And she says a lot of the wives also, another thing they do is make mental narratives of how everyone feels about them. And it's just their projection. It's not actually what's going on. And Cody says that in Vegas, they worked stuff out really out of necessity because they had to. And everyone was dishonest with how they felt in order to smooth things over and just make it work. Flagstaff caused separation, and Cody has decided what he wanted to do, and he's had the wives choose what they want to do, and he's not pushing anyone to do anything. And Mary really saw the separation and the isolation with the move to Flagstaff, even pre-pandemic, as everyone getting settled, and she ignored it, and she feels like everyone ignored it, and the rift just got deeper. The separation just got deeper. And Christine feels like an outsider, like it's hostile at family events. And Robin feels like when they are apart, they get monsters in their head. That's her version of everyone projecting their own narratives of what everyone feels about them. That everyone gets monsters in their head. Robin wanted Christine to know she didn't hate her, and Janelle was shocked that Christine said she felt hated at that meal because she is the most vibrant one at get-togethers and the one that seems, really upbeat. And Mary gets not knowing where you stand at family functions. Christine says that she really wanted to be honest with Janelle and authentic for Janelle because Janelle was very brave in having that conversation. And she felt it was really her internal feeling. And she doubted if all the wives liked her because no one was reaching out and everyone was separate. And her and Cody had troubles for a long time in their relationship. So at family functions, it's very hard for her to watch how Cody functions and how he treats his wives when he's in good relationships, when her relationship was bad. And the way he treats her suffers as a result, and she has to watch him be amazing with these other wives, or what she considers treated better than she's treated. I'm sure it's less than amazing. Mary was surprised that Christine felt hated or anxious, and Mary feels that insecurity, and she says she gets the insecurity, she has that as well. Mary said that she tried reaching out, but it wasn't always reciprocated by Christine. And when Janelle had the talk at the beginning of the season, Christine says that at that point, she was really still willing to work on her relationship with Cody and her relationship with the family, and that it was a wake-up call. The pandemic happened, and it made things more separate, and she really had an awakening. And Cody is asked about the different C-19 protocols between the households, and Cody says that he really wanted to prevent a child's death and that maybe they were a little too strict, but what ifs concerned him. So he really listened to the advice of his clinician. So his clinician apparently is the one who advised him on the guidelines that are stricter than the CDC and stricter than anything we've ever seen anyone do. He says, if you don't want to get pregnant, don't have sex. So he's saying basically, if you don't want to get COVID, don't get exposed. Robin wanted the rules to protect her kids, but Christine refused those stringent rules, and she feels his rules really weren't realistic, and she can't stay home. She has kids in other states who need her, and she follows CDC guidelines. She quarantines every time that she travels for 2 weeks, but she's not going to follow Cody's protocols. And Cody said that Christine chose her other kids, meaning her other kids in other states, her older kids, over him. And Cody mentions Truly almost dying, and he says that changed the relationship between him and Christine. Obviously, it did. She was so sick that she almost passed away, and it happened on his watch while she was away with the other wives, trusting him to watch Truly, and Truly became so dehydrated that her kidneys shut down. And Cody says that Christine picking her kids added more stress, but he feels he could have been more lax in his rules, and his goal was really to keep everyone alive, even if they had to be separated. Robin says that she really understands both sides of the C19 argument within the family, and she wanted to mesh the two, but that this really destroyed the family culture. And Sobbin' Robin is at it again. She says she really hates crying, but she's wiping away non-existent tears and scrunching up her face. She says it was painful, and she really feels like the unity and the family group got thrown out of the window because of the pandemic, and she calls it disturbing. C19 has pulled the rug up and revealed everything. She wants to come back from this. She wants the family to come back from this. Cody feels that a plural family means never suffering from loneliness. He used to think that would mean none of the wives would suffer from loneliness. But he says it's not true. He doesn't have the type of relationship with Mary where they talk every day. No one barely talks to her. She's very isolated from the family. She's very lonely. According to Mary, everyone is happy using the pandemic as an excuse not to see each other because it's easier than working on the relationships. Janelle disagrees, and she says that Cody has had an extreme position, saying that people are really glad to have an excuse because Cody somewhat feels that way as well, and that that's really not the case. Janelle felt sadness that everyone made different C19 choices, and Mary said that she would text Robin, but that Cody never checked on her because the relationship isn't at that point where he would check on her. Janelle says that Mary is really choosing the family identity regardless of the relationship with Cody. She's choosing the family. She's still with the family, even though she's really, for all intents and purposes, not really with Cody. Janelle said it's hard to see their relationship. It's hard to watch how their relationship deteriorate between Mary and Cody. And Christine says that her heart breaks when she thinks about Mary, and that she really has no intention. She wouldn't be able to do it. Has no intention of having a loveless marriage the way Mary has. And Cody and Mary celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary this year, and the catfish is mentioned yet again. There's a millionth mention of the catfish. There's a flashback to it, and Mary mentions wanting to meet the guy and that she saw a lot of holes and eventually found out that this online guy was actually a woman pretending to be a man, a catfish. And Cody felt shut out by Mary, and he said when that happened, the old relationship died. Dead, gone, never to be seen again. Mary wants trust, but Cody doesn't want a romantic relationship. He says Mary unloads her emotions into a burden for him to carry, and if they wanted to be together, they would be together. They married young and they were in love, and when Janelle came into the family, there was jealousy, and Mary says she really didn't know how to handle it, and Cody didn't know how to deal with her and her jealousy. Christine was more of a struggle when she came into the family for Mary than Janelle was, Christine as the third wife. And Mary says that the relationship has been a roller coaster, and Cody says regarding Mary that there is nothing to talk about when asked about the relationship with her, and that it took time and a lot of counseling, and it was difficult, it was antagonistic, but he doesn't want to get back together. There's nothing there. He says that the women can leave whenever they want, but he can't leave, and it's a double standard. And the host says it's not a double standard because in some ways he has left and emotionally abandoned his wives. And Cody gets pissed, and the mask kind of slips, And he says, abandoned, please. Cody is totally pissed, and you can tell like his emotions are going off and he's seeing red flags, and like the host has really touched a nerve. He gets super, super, super defensive. He goes, take that word back. I take offense to that word, like going crazy over it. He says he takes offense to the word abandonment when Mary is the one that had an affair. She was the one leaving him, and she made it clear that she was done with Cody, she was done with the family, and that she won't admit it because the family circled the wagons to protect her, even though everyone knew she was leaving for a better, richer man, and that she sees herself as a victim who did nothing wrong because it was a catfish. But if it wasn't a catfish, she would have gone with the guy. And that she would not have been a victim if she had not done something wrong in the first place. He says Mary doesn't realize her culpability, and that's according to him. Mary says that they talked about the catfish, and he understood what happened. She feels like they went over it, that he understood it. But Cody felt really betrayed that she was leaving. And during that time of the catfishing, she considered all her options, but Mary says she was never going to leave. I don't know if I believe that. And she says it wasn't about meeting a man to want to leave the family, and that the catfish really wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back in the relationship, and that it really wasn't the defining fracture of their relationship. Their relationship was already fractured. Cody now says he really can never trust Mary. He cannot trust her. He doesn't trust her. And he also says he never wants to have sex with her, no intimacy ever again. He doesn't want the emotional torture of having intimacy with Mary. He says it's emotional torture, and he never wants sex with her. And they discuss the 30th anniversary date, and Mary says she's still committed. She wants a full marriage, and she's emotionally invested because she loves Cody, and she really wants to stay with the family. And Cody says he will never be with her again. He flat out says that. And he says it's a bad match, but she will remain part of the larger family. He wants to be honest without being cruel. And he says if they weren't in plural marriage or bound by religion, they would have separated. Things would be different, he said. Cody feels they can live as friends with no physicality whatsoever. Mary obviously says she wants emotional intimacy. She wants more talking, more physical intimacy. But Cody isn't there in the relationship. And she reveals it has been a decade since they had sex. A decade. Mary has hope Cody will come full circle one day. And she says even if he doesn't, she will create peace and happiness with the bigger family, even if Cody never progresses and it stays this way. She won't leave Cody because she doesn't want to. And Christine says for her, it's different. Intimacy is non-negotiable. And for Mary, it's been 10 years with no intimacy and she's still committed. They're different people. And Mary says that. She says they're two different people with different values. As if Christine expecting or wanting a full marriage and sex in a marriage would mean she has different values than her. But I feel like that's what that suggests. But anyway, Cody says that intimacy is damage in a relationship where there's no safety. He doesn't feel safe with Mary in his relationship with Mary at all. He says he'll be her friend and protect her, and he'll build a home for her on the land with the rest of the family, but he will never feel safe with her, and that it wasn't caused by the catfish. Both Mary and Cody have mentioned that the rift, the issues in the marriage were not caused by the catfish. They were caused pre-catfish. Cody says that he considers Mary a friend, like just a friend. And the host asks if her being his friend and just having relationships within the family and not with him, like no intimacy, no marriage, just basically being Cody's acquaintance and remaining in the family would be enough. If that would be enough. And Cody says that's not enough for anybody, but everybody makes their choices. Basically, he is saying Mary should leave. I'm going to repeat that again because that really, it's so obvious. The host asked if that would be enough, just being Cody's friend and just maintaining relationships with the kids and sister wives within the larger family. And Cody says it's not enough for anybody, but everybody makes their choices. He is saying he really wants Mary to leave, that she should leave. Robin is the only wife with a fully functioning relationship with Cody. Christine says she really doesn't believe in polygamy anymore. And Cody says he didn't want to be intimate with Christine because Christine was somebody who was stabbing him in the back by always telling everyone in the family like she would want to leave him. Now, next week looks like it is going to be even better. I am here for it. I can't wait. I really think Cody is going to play the victim next week regarding Christine, and I really believe that he would love for Mary and Christine to leave. He even says it wouldn't be enough for anybody, and he can't leave them. Religious-wise, he's bound, but they can leave him. He intentionally is taking sex off the table to push the women out, and he knows it's less than they deserve, and he knows he can't divorce them, but they can leave. So if his protocols didn't work to push them out, and no sex didn't work, I really wonder what extreme he will go to. I wonder what will work. He knows he isn't offering what any sane woman would accept, hoping they will go. He wants to be with Robin, and he's made it crystal clear. Thanks everyone for watching Sister Wives with Mary Jane Kay. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. I would love, love, love to hear your thoughts. Bye.